In classical music, there are 4 cadences. 2 of those cadences are what we call finished cadences, and the other 2 cadences are unfinished cadences. The 2 finished cadences are the perfect cadence and the Play-Doh cadence. The perfect cadence uses chord 5 and chord 1. In my example, I'm going to use chord 5 of G, B and D, but with the leading note at the top going to the tonic. So here is my example of the perfect cadence. As you can hear, the perfect cadence is very definitely finished. It uses the dominant chord, which is the 5th chord, which is the 2nd most powerful and important emotive chord of the scale, going to the tonic. So it's very, very definite finish, end to the music. The next cadence is the Play-Doh cadence. The Play-Doh cadence is a finished cadence, just like the perfect cadence, but it has a softer musical feel to it and a slightly different emotion. Here is the Play-Doh cadence. The Play-Doh cadence uses the subdominant chord of F, going to the tonic once again. So this is very often found in church music, where you might have the word Amen sung over the top of it. This is very often used by church organists who might be improvising, and then when they suddenly have to bring their improvisation to a close, they might play something like. So those are the 2 finished cadences, the perfect cadence and the Play-Doh cadence. The 2 unfinished cadences are the imperfect cadence and the interrupted cadence. Now the imperfect cadence always finishes on the dominant chord or chord 5. So in my example now, I'm going to play for you an imperfect cadence which goes from chord 1 to chord 5. It doesn't have to go from chord 1 to chord 5. In fact, it can go from any other chord to chord 5, as long as the second and final chord of the 2 chords in the cadence is chord 5. Although, for my demonstration here now, I'm going to stick to just going from chord 1 to chord 5. Which, as you can hear, is an unfinished cadence and usually comes in the middle of the phrase. And then the final of our 4 cadences is the interrupted cadence. Now, an interrupted cadence goes from chord 5, as if it's going to be a perfect cadence, but instead of going to chord 1, as in a perfect cadence, it goes to chord 6, which, as you can hear, is a tool that can be used to make a phrase last a little longer. So, for example, a composer might have a phrase which goes. Did you spot the interrupted cadence earlier on in the improvisation when it went from chord 5, but instead of going to chord 1 went to chord 6, which then allowed the player to continue back to chord 4, then to chord 5 again, and then to finish with a perfect cadence from 5 to 1. I hope that this has been informative and that it has enlightened you into the 4 different cadences in music, which are the perfect cadence, 5 to 1, the Play-Doh cadence, 4 to 1, the imperfect cadence, which can be anything to 1, but in this example, anything to 5, but in this example is 1 to 5. Please remember that an imperfect cadence always finishes on chord 5, no matter what chord goes before it. And then finally the interrupted cadence, which is chord 5 to chord 6. Good luck exploring and using your cadences.